Tonight, a male is wanted for lewd behavior in Vaughan. 3 people are arrested following a gun incident in Keswick, and former Brampton councillor Frank Andrews has passed away aged 80. Sunny Pearson 8, Newmarket 7. This update is brought to you by Frank Cotolo on 148.ca. Frank investigates conspiracies at 148.ca/Frank. I'm Philip Pong from the SRN National Newsroom. Now here's Mike and Rod and Ray with North American Harness Update, and they have their own room on SRN1.
The starter has called the field to the gate. This field is in motion and approaching the start. And they're off. And it's a battle into the first turn for control. The battle continues by the half and approaching the 4 turn. Stride for stride past the 3/4 pole and approaching the top of the stretch. And as they hit the top of the stretch, it's mission brief. Foiled again, Muscle Hill, Captain Treacherous, and Vegas Vacation. Lucky Jim, a rock and roll dance, be a magician. Sebastian K approaches the line. Guccio is coming late, and as they hit the wire, it's too close to call.
Now here's North American Harness Update on SRN1.
Mankind is known to have many crowning achievements to its existence. The wheel, fire, the invention of the anvil. Not all are equal, however, all are products of ingenuity. Now, what does this mean, you might ask? Well, if I was genius, I'd probably be able to figure that one out, but as ingenious as I am, I still really can't figure it out. So instead, I'm here, I being Ray Cotolo, at least that's the person I am so far, joined by my co-hosts to bring you another edition of North American Harness Update, the only harness racing show with 2 feet on the ground and 6 feet way up in the air. Mike, Rod, how are you boys doing tonight?
Doing well.
We got doing well, and we got nothing from Rod. Fantastic. I'll take that as a doing well. So
it's nice that Rod's available. Rod, are you there?
Tonight on the show, we got a late pick 4 from London to talk about, like we do every week, and we also have the late pick 4 from the Meadowlands to talk about for Saturday. But oh man, it's already time for steaks. That's right, Trump steak. We're not selling Trump steaks. We're gonna instead sell racing steaks, prime cut, T-bone, A-class level, medium rare, well done steaks at Yonkers Raceway tomorrow evening being Saturday, March 17th, the opening preliminary of the George Morton Levy series, as well as tonight's technically I cracked my neck. That felt weird. I may have to see a doctor later. The Blue Chip Matchmaker also started tonight, but we will have no coverage of that because it started tonight, and it's out of our control at this point. So we're going to handle stuff that's in our control, like the London Pick 4, which is coming up shortly. Race 6 just went official as we open up the magical little television box, and right now they replaced the late Pick 4 with a wheel. Okay. This is strange. So, like, do we bet on the box? I'm confused. Currently, there's Adrian is okay. So he's putting a slip in a box, and then there's Greg Gangle. This is not the late Pick 4. I'm concerned, guys. Guys. I'm taking the echo for as much as it's worth, and it's really worth nothing, especially considering how much the technology that costs to make it. So, starting with race number 7, that didn't make any sense. Race number 7 is a 7,000 filly and mare claiming race, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's a field of 8 going postward, right? Oh, wow, this is already a race I'm kind of interested in just because who is currently the favorite right now. Yep, $7,000 filly and mare claiming pace, 8 lining up. Rod, starting with you, you're the deepest of all of us. You're taking 5 of them.
Yeah, I'm going 5 deep. I thought this race was pretty wide open. I'll start with the 1. I think he's going to get away close. Probably. Can you hear me?
Yes, Rod.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, he should get away close. Probably look to sit the 2-hole. And with the rail, looks pretty obvious to have on the ticket. Then the 3, I like a little bit here. Decent price play. I think the key there is this horse not being first over. And I think definitely has a shot. Go outside to the 6. Probably going to need a little bit of a trip, but is capable and needs to be close, turning for home. The 7, bad post, but this horse, it's okay, but the post really is the only concern for me. Then the 8, this horse looks obvious as my top pick in the race. Has won at Western Fair, and this is a similar group that this horse beat a few starts back, so I'm going to throw that one on. 1, 3, 6, 7, 8.
Mike, are you also going to throw that one on?
I'm 4 deep. I like the 3 also. Eel Avenger. This horse has been close recently. Should get another close-up trip, and it can get off the rail. I think has a chance late. The 4, St. Lad's Pixie. This horse also, I think, has had bad posts. Should be involved with a better post. I think is going to be long, but occasionally trips out to win. I'm going to use that one. The 7 Zin Fandart, I thought was very good last time. Did get a perfect trip though, and that's going to be harder to do from the 7 hole. But I expect the Shepherd blast off here, and this horse was back from 25 2 back to 4.5 to 1 last time, and like I said, 1 easy. I'll try that one again, and then the 8 just blitzed. This horse drops, comes back in from Woodbine. This is Corey Johnson, likely favorite, I would think, especially with Harris being aggressive. This one's going to be hard to beat, but the second tier, could make this horse run into a few things. 3, 4, 7, 8.
Now, I'm too deep in this opening leg, starting off with the 3. I'm a big fan of the foreign flair this horse has. This horse, of course, being El Avenger, which is Spanish, believe it or not, for the Avenger. Now, really why I also like her is just because this is a race that doesn't have a lot of pace, and she is usually positioned somewhat close and also possesses enough of a late kick to maybe get by horses if she ends up in a stalking spot, because again, this is a race that lacks a lot of pace, and that's also why I'm a big fan of the 7 Zin Fandart, who also has a ton of foreign flair, because Zin Fandart, believe it or not, is Spanish for the streets, and she also has a lot of speed too. She's able to blast off the gate if she has to, and her best races seem to come when she's positioned up close. The one race in particular, though, that kind of worries me is back on January 31st from the same post, went straight to the back. That can't happen tonight. So Robbie Shepard, if you're listening to the show right now, you got to gun it and go. If you don't gun it and go, then you got no shot. That's a wrap, folks. 3-7. First leg. Second leg. What up? 8,500 claim and trot. Got horses lining up. You got 1, 2, 7, 8. Starting with you, Rod. Who are your 3?
Go to Mike real quick.
Oh.
I'm having technical difficulties here.
Rod's got technical difficulties. Mike, you don't. Who are your 4?
4 deep, the 1 Trader Hanover. Moves inside. Terrible post recently. It has been close up. Just needs to finish a little better. The 5, Abe's Earl, raced decently last time. Ended up with a 2-hole trip. Finished well. Really kind of lacked room there. I would think gets room tonight should be better. The 6, Eco's Fifi, closed last time, was 30-1. Again, should be a big price. It's one of those races. I think anything can get there. And then the 7, Go Get Bruce, third time back, 1-2 back. Last time from the 7 hole, not very good, but is going to be bet again. Has Carroll 1, 5, 6, 7.
Rod, welcome back to the program. Now, as I understand it, you got 3 numbers in this second leg. What are those 3 and why?
I can't tell you my 3 because I still have technical difficulties here.
Okay, Rod, we'll come back to you.
I'm not very happy about this right now.
We'll come back to you in a moment. Meanwhile, as for me, the preppy little show elf that I am, almost blew out a lamp there. Let me tell you, that wouldn't have been very bright of me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I wish I had a drummer. I'm too deep in this second leg, starting with, as I scroll up the past performances, that's right, the 2, Ty's Little Dream. First off, I really hated this race, so I agree with you, Mike, that this is one of those races. However, I couldn't really find anything that justified me going incredibly deep, so I looked for any semblance of form that I could, and Ty's Little Dream is the first one that someone showed it. Dropping in class. This horse is a notorious hanger, though, so I'm hoping that the drop in class is all that she needs. Otherwise, she's also usually fairly close up to the pace, and the tempo setter in this race, the 1 Schrader Hanover most likely, not very strong on the lead, so if anything, she could just be in the right place at the right time and possibly at a decent price. The other horse I really like here is the 5, Abe's Earl, who his last 2 races stand out. 2 starts back, was 3rd to Spicy Victor and Burst Hanover, then lost to Burst Hanover last out. And if you look through the rest of these horses' lines, Burst Hanover was beating them, or Spicy Victor was beating them. So Abe's Earl, it was logically the next one in line in terms of form. And while this guy never really gets bet, that might actually play in our favor because sure, he might be a bit devalued this time around just because of the lackluster field he's in against, but he's not going to go down to be like the 4-1 favorite, if that makes any sense. He also has speed. He can beat up towards the front. He's been just chasing better horses. So with that, I'm 2-5. You ready, Rod? You good to go?
Yep.
Choo-choo goes the choot train. The Rod train. You're 3 deep.
3 deep. Starting with the 1. Schrader Hanover should be on the lead here. If not, the 2-hole. This looks like a pretty good spot for this horse. Hasn't been finishing, but I'm still going to use specifically because he's got the rail. The 2, Ty's Little Dream, I'm going to throw on. This horse drops out of the condition claimers. Is 0 for 41, but I do think this horse should improve on the drop. And this is really the cheapest this horse has been in last few weeks, and against Future King and Striking Volo, who've been dominating that class there. And then the 8, the High Road, another one dropping out of the same type of races. This one should get away close following the Royal Horse there. Has been racing okay, nothing spectacular. Doesn't finish well, but should get a covered up trip here and stay close to route 128.
Now
We're gonna have to hurry up here, boys. Just saying.
Yeah,
okay?
I was just about to note, if for those of you who are going to play along with us, the graphics are already up for our tickets on Twitter at NA Harness Update and on Facebook North American Harness Update, just because the races are running a little faster than we were expecting. So they just paraded now, and for sake of being on the air too, I'm just going to say what I have in the next 2 legs, and then we could dissect them more or talk more about this race. So the third leg of the sequence, I'm 3, 4, 5, 7. Then in the last leg, I'm 1, 3, 5. So my ticket's going to be 3, 7 with 2, 5 with 3, 4, 5, 7 with 1, 3, 5. That's $9.60. Mike, what's yours?
The next 2 legs, I'm 3, 4, 6, and 8, and then 3, 5, and 9 to finish. My ticket was 3, 4, 7, 8 with 1, 5, 6, 7 with 3, 4, 6, 8 with 3, 5, 9. It's $38.40 for 20 cents.
And Rod, your ticket?
run 3, 6, 7, 8 with 1, 2, 8 with 3, 4 with 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9.
And that's $42 for 20 cents. Now, with these last two legs, just because we have a little bit of time, and I feel like, Rod, this is probably a question to ask you, mostly regarding that last leg, because it seems like the leg you see as the most profitable potentially with how deep you go. Just give me your thoughts, because you had 2 minutes until this race goes. Why so deep in the last leg?
I just think the entire race is wide open. There's several different scenarios I could see playing out here where they go really fast or they go really slow because everybody thinks that everybody else is going to be leaving. The only two horses that I didn't use, they just didn't. To me, they don't fit in with the rest of them. They're just a little bit slower, I think. But as far as everybody else goes, there's a lot of different scenarios that I thought could happen in this race, and it doesn't have to be any of the favorites in here, like a lot of people think it probably will be with the horses. There's 4 horses in here that have been first, second, or third the last 4 or 5 starts. So a lot of different opinions to look at here.
Now, this is a really strange race that's coming up, too, to kick off this sequence, just because Nadia Can Go is currently the favorite at 9-5, and I feel like this could actually alter how this race sets up, because I did not like the 8 because she was trailing behind the 1. But with the 1 being the favorite now, we might actually see a little bit of speed from her, just because a lot of drivers do like to launch when they're taking play, because they assume, and Rod, you can back this too, they assume that they have a live horse in that case.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you know your horse is getting better, you have a live horse, and you know the horse is live, you want to, especially on a half, you want to fire out of there and make sure your horse is close turning for home.
My one thing with this horse in particular, though, Nadia Can Go, is just week in, week out, she's always chasing, and she's also a real notorious hanger, at least on this circuit. But we'll see if the rail helps her at all. She is the 2-1 second choice now. Just Blitz goes down to the 8-5 favorite. Third choice at 5-1's the 3 EL Avenger. They're lining up for the first leg of this pick 4 from the Raceway at Western Fair District. We got 8 of them going, 7 in line, 1 in behind, in the words of the great Rick Uppel, wherever he is now, maybe listening to the show. Who knows? They're turning into the stretch for the kickoff leg. In motion, approaching the start, off and pacing. EL Avenger from the inside leaves with Nadia Can Go. Just Blitzed up close to Selma's Wish, getting away 4th around the turn. St. Lad's Pixie 5th, and it's She's a Star Reporter, Lily's Penelope, and Zin Fan Dart. Checks in the back, heading to the opening quarter into the back stretch. Nadia Can Go claimed the lead, parked out EL Avenger, who tucked into the pocket. Just Blitzed inherited the 3rd spot as Selma's Wish dropped back to 4th, about 4 lengths off the lead. St. Lad's Pixies in 5th, 28-3 the opening panel, gap of 2.5. She's a Star Reporter in front of Lily's Penelope. Zinfendert in the back of the pack around the turn, out of 3rd. Just Blitzed, making her move for the top after Nadia Can Go past the 3/8 pole into the stretch first time. EL Avenger in the pocket, watching now, pulling for Day right after Just Blitz, who takes over from Nadia Can Go. Gap then moving into the turn. St. Lad's Pixie wide of Selma's Wish. 58-1 the halftime. 30-3 that second quarter. Moving to the backstretch. 29-3. Just Blitzed in front by 2. Outside, EL Avengers gaining ground. Locked in, Nadia Can Go. Outside, St. Lad's Pixie. 4th, outside of Selma's Wish with 4.5 lengths to make up. Approaching 3/4. Just Blitz passes that station. 127-2. 29-1 around that final turn. And with separation, Just Blitzed leads by 2.5. 3 now. EL Avengers not gaining ground. Neither is Nadia Can Go to the inside, though she takes 2nd, turning for home. The rest fan wide behind her. It's Just Blitzed clear of them into the 16th pole. A wall behind Nadia Can Go as the battle's on for 2nd, but favorites prevail. Just Blitzed romps here, very tight for second. Maybe EL Avenger there. It was a lot of them on the line. Photo sign is up. Well, 7-5. I was totally wrong about that one.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that horse was a bit all or nothing, Ray, don't you think?
You talking about the 8?
Yeah, because I mean the Woodbine line isn't horrible. It was 8-1 against EL Ronda.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's Johnson. The horse had raced well here in the past. Hard not to use that one, especially with Harris. I think.
8.
I didn't think he was universally good, but I think it's hard to not use that one.
8, 3,
that
1, 4.
That 1 mile that this horse ran 4 back
Didn't run.
Mile and 16th was really good.
And there's a lot of bad horses in the race. I mean, there's just not bad horses,
but that race in particular was pretty impressive. So, just because you went 129 in the snow, and they were given 2 seconds that night, so those were, I mean, pretty stiff fractions on the front end.
Again, there was a reason also why I brought up that caveat with Nadia Can Go getting bet early on. Was I handicapped that race thinking she wasn't going to leave. But then again, there was not a lot of speed, so inevitably that race was going to set up for the 8, and I neglected that.
The thing about Harris, though, is he makes early moves every night, every race. I mean, he's not sitting with anything. He goes. It doesn't matter if he's second tier, gets away bad, he's moving.
I mean, there are also times he doesn't.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't handicap that race.
The majority of the time, that's what he does. If you watch any of the races there.
Rod's gone. Okay.
Ask Rod.
My point is.
No, I agree.
We can't hear you, Rod.
Sorry, I had the mute button on accident.
He was agreeing in silence.
Yeah.
But like, I don't look at those things. I don't really consider them.
And that's half your problem. You don't pay attention to stuff that's actually going on. You want to look at the book and think that's what universally is. Meanwhile, Rod's watching 50 races a week at the place, and he knows what's going on.
Well, I mean, you're doing that just to get a 7-5 shot. How like that? That's the other thing.
Let me tell you something. You have to be able to pick the winners of the race. Just because it's 7-5, well, the way the race sets up and the way the guys makes moves matters. That matters. Whether a guy's going to sit or gun or do something, that makes a difference when you're playing. If you don't know those things, you're behind.
That's not at all the point I'm making, though. That's not at all.
What point are you making?
The point that I'm saying is that in terms of how the pace of that race set up, whether Harris always moves at the quarter or not, I thought the 8 was going to be towards the middle of the pack because the 1 was not going to leave. The 1 never shows speed. And so because of that, and judging from the 8's lines in the past, she doesn't really do as well from off the pace. That's the race I envision seeing, and that's the race that didn't happen.
I understand you thinking that, but what I'm saying is whether he got away well or not with the 1, he was always going to move the 8 no matter where it was, I think. That might not have worked out for him, but he was always going to go.
But here's the thing, like that piece of information to me doesn't necessarily matter. That to me that complicates the race for me. Like to almost like to try and place that much control into what you think is going to happen. I know it's almost ironic considering how I thought of the pace of that race setting up, but
you thought it was going to happen one way, but I thought it was going to happen different. But your way's better than my way.
No, because I'm not saying it's better. In fact, I'm saying that I was wrong. But at the same time, you're saying that even though I made an honest mistake, it was still wrong because I neglected one thing that you take into consideration to get a 7-5 shot.
Just because chalk wins doesn't mean that that's a bad thing all the time.
I understand that, but my point too is that 7-5 on that horse was not the right price for me. You can handicap. You can miss handicap races. Morning lines are a whole other discussion.
I understand that, but you knew the horse was going to be bet. I mean, the horse was never going to be a price in the race.
No, I knew that, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean the horse is good.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. And that's
But the one thing you're not really taking into consideration is that sometimes you actually have to realize that a horse is decent just off of that one London line that horse showed.
No, and again, like I said too, that if the 8's placed up close, it's probably gonna play in her favor. I just didn't think that was gonna happen. I tried to bet against that happening, and I was just wrong.
Well, believe me, I'm wrong a lot too. But I don't know. I do form opinions about humans, as trainers and and drivers, jockeys, everything. You form biases, I think, and you form opinions about guys, and they're not universally correct necessarily, but the trend and the way that they do things typically comes out in most races and most scenarios. They're going to do what they're comfortable with, just the same as you are.
But at the same time, they're also only as good as the horse they're in behind. Jay Harris was behind a good horse.
But they're more likely to do certain things based on their tendencies, and if you know what they are, then I think you have an advantage.
I mean, it's not really much of an advantage if everyone else knew that, though.
How do you know what everyone else knows?
The horse was the favorite. The horse was 7-5. Then yes, it does. If the horse is the favorite, that means the majority of the money's on her.
That doesn't mean that they know what I know as far as what I think the driver's going to do.
And that doesn't matter in the end when they're cashing the tickets.
Different point. The horse was the favorite because he came from Woodbine and he raced well here in the past. It didn't matter who was sitting on him necessarily.
Yeah. Again, most of the time the drivers are as good as the horse they're sitting behind. 12 minutes to the 8th at Western Fair. And here's a good example of bad morning line. 2-1 morning line, 99-1 currently.
I don't think that's going to last.
Well, you got to take a look at the pool as well.
Wait, let's take a look at the pool. The pool currently has $99.
We got $100 in the win pool.
With 11 minutes to go.
Better run and make an opinion about those odds.
I mean, I'm laughing about it too because I know what I said is stupid.
Okay.
I'm not out.
What are we doing now? We need to move on from this.
I mean, we could start talking about Meadowlands if we want, because chances are none of you guys feel like digressing at all tonight.
Yeah, I say we wait about 10 minutes to do Meadowlands.
I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that.
Talk about the last two at London.
Yeah, we might as well, just because we missed. Well, I mean, I can still. I got opinions. Stop stuttering, you tool.
But I'm leaving it up to you guys, basically, to discuss the last couple of London. Since we didn't get to do that anyways, but you guys can discuss it a little bit. I gave you my opinion of the last race, and it was that I thought it was wide open. Almost anybody could win that race, other than the couple horses I didn't use.
What Rod is hinting at currently is he is in the middle of a Craigslist exchange that may not go in his favor. So, Rod, if we don't hear anything else from you, Godspeed, my brother.
Are you done? Are you done, Rod?
I'm not done.
Okay.
That's what we hope.
I just need a few minutes to make sure I get all this other stuff back. I'm trying to get technical difficulties settled and all this stuff.
Yeah, Craigslist is a real rough site. You never know if it's going to be good or bad. And I know because I've had my fair share of exchanges on the list. I also have to say that was a very.
Well, my
probably shouldn't say that joke.
My internet worked perfectly fine up until about 8:45, and then all of a sudden everything started shutting off, and I don't know what happened or how it happened, but everything shut off, including our video, my Western Fair feed. I couldn't even load the Nahoo Picks website. It was the whole thing shut down, and I don't think it was just isolated I don't think it was isolated where I was at.
Now I
think it's
I have three
a riot.
theories. I have three theories regarding that. Number one, the Russian government is terrified of the success we've had on the internet, so they're trying to shut us down. Always got to involve the Russian government because they're powerful. Number two, Drunk Driver Fest was in town, and then at that specific time, they all hopped in their cars for the ceremonial drive into the telephone pole race. Which I mean, let's be honest, it's a fun thing to watch every year. And number three, I also heard in the news that Time Warner Cable likes to, at specifically 8:45 p.m., shut down the internet of a specific area of the town just to see what kind of chaos would occur. Those are my
Honestly,
three theories.
That would not surprise me.
Me neither.
I'm
The world's
being
conspiring against us
serious.
once again.
Well, I mean, I'm also conspiring against the world because these are all theories that are not true. However, they would make great screenplays, which is the premise of this next segment. We're going to write a screenplay on this show in between races. All right, so now what makes for a great story is something compelling, something strong, something exactly, something beyond words.
How about the skunk that just sprayed somewhere near where I'm at?
That's my favorite Aesop fable. Like next to the ugly duckling.
I think that like God is trying to tell you something currently. Now you got skunk skunking you.
Yeah, he's telling me to get the hell out of here.
And now, this is a great idea for a promotion. Where does Rod go? Tweet in at NA Harness Update, and wherever you tweet, Rod has to go there. So if you say Toronto, Rod, you got to drive all the way to Toronto. I'm sorry. That's just...
I will eventually.
No, not eventually. It's as soon as it comes in, you got to do it. If they say you're going to Croatia, you better find a cheap flight. Maybe one that does not have cardboard, just because I know how sketchy Eastern European flights can be. I've seen all the cartoons. I've seen all the things that aren't true, but we think are true because it makes it funnier. I've seen all of them. I've seen things. I've been places. I've been from this point. I walk all the way to this other point in my basement. Boom, places that I've been.
Mike, can you talk about the 9th race for me?
What is so great about
I
this
don't know.
9th
I was
race?
trying to let him go, but I'm about done with it, really.
I forgot to also plug the fact that I was told Frank Cotolo was supposed to be on the show tonight.
Oh, really?
Yes. So at any point, we should be seeing him.
Will he be eating per usual?
My dad's not fat. Why do you have to make fun of him
But
like
he's
that?
always eating whenever he comes on the show. He's
Look.
usually munching on something.
You never.
Yeah, he's eating chips or eating oranges or banana peels. I don't know what he eats.
Look, I don't
Race,
come.
Western Fair tonight, 9th race.
I don't
7 flamers.
I don't come on to your radio shows and call your parents overweight. I wouldn't do that. I don't come on to your basement-based Friday night horse racing talk shows and say about your father that they're a little bit huskier than usual because of all the calories they consume. Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
Race 9 at London.
The 9th race at London, which I'm surprised. Like I was totally setting that up for you guys, and Rod took it. The 9th race at London, I forget what it is. I think it's another 7,000 filly and mare claimer.
Yeah, 7 claimer.
I see. Comedic timing is only your thing, Mike, on the weekdays. But this race, you and I mostly agreed, except on everything but the 3 and the 4.
Well, you don't like them?
No, I have them, but you have 2 bombs that I did not like at all.
No 7, no 8?
Oh, wait. Am I looking at the right race? I have the 5 and the 7. You have the 6 and the 8.
Okay, we're looking at the 9th. Okay, you're right. 6 and
Yes.
excuse me.
Yeah. See,
Um,
Ray knows what he's doing. Ray,
Thank you, Ray.
with the overweight father, knows what he's doing.
I think the 8 has a big chance because of the second tier. The horse has raced well from inside post before.
Mm-hmm.
7 wins last year, has 6 checks in 11 races this year. It's a little bit cheap, but, this horse has an interesting, and had no chance last time, too, from where he got away. It was 12-1. Lady Richmond dominated that race. Moon Lake's better than these.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the post switch. The 6, I think, is maybe the only closer in the race.
Okay.
And I like that 29-2 last time, and that's really the only reason I used the horse was that final quarter is by far the best on the page, and that's
At
why
Flamborough.
I'm interested in this one, especially the number.
At Flamborough, though. Flamborough is usually faster.
That's all right. I mean, the horse was still capable of producing that, so I'm good with that.
I feel like
There's a lot of other Flamborough lines on the page. I don't see many 29-1s anywhere.
I see a 29-3, but this horse finished 9th. Like, if you want to get that semantical about it, what does a 29 mean?
I don't care. That's what I want. I looked at the race. You asked what I thought, what I saw. I just told you.
It's fine. I mean, you can do the same thing to me, and you do the same thing to me.
I do.
Yes.
Except for I'm not retarded.
Whoa. Is that just because?
It's legitimate. You just want to be arbitrary with the crap you come up with.
Look, as the child of an apparently overweight father, I'm slightly offended.
What?
I mean, I see what you're saying. And I understand. I can understand why you like the 8 in that sense. I just dislike the fact that this horse is always close and not getting there. But he's close. She's close. So you're not wrong. I feel like she might take a little bit more play though with that post switch, and that's not necessarily gonna be a price that I want.
I don't know though. The 3 and the 4 are going to be bet pretty hard in here, don't you think?
Oh yeah, that's true.
One will take its share of money.
The who?
The 1.
Oh, the 1 is awful in that race.
No, I don't like, but I'm saying we'll take money from the 1 horse.
Yeah.
And the horse has been 4-1 or less the last 4 races.
However, the one horse that's also very interesting that you didn't have is the 5 Bye Bye Daddy, who last time she raced at London, last 2 times she raced at London, actually, she won at this level. And shipped over to Flamborough, had some trouble, but now ships back to the track that she's raced well at. Beat horses like Ava's Best Girl, Rousey Rhonda, who we both know, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Emma Ivy, lost to Emma Ivy. She's a pretty decent one over at Flammy Bambi. I mean,
let's go to the last race. You like anything else in this one?
I was 3, 4, 5, 7 in that third leg, with the 5 and the 7 being my price horses. That 7 seems like another closer too, so I don't think the 6 is the only closer in that race. 7 will probably at least be somewhat forwardly placed. But then the last, the 10th, I was basically trying to figure out who could beat Holly's Justice here, because she just reads like a vulnerable favorite, but at the same time I also use. I was too deep. You're also too deep, but you're more centered on the outside. Well, inside technically because the 9.
No, I'm 3 deep, 3, 5, 9.
Yeah.
The 3, I wanted horses out of this Holly's Justice race as compared to some of these other ones. And I thought, tax savings was getting Kelly. That was one reason to use there. The post switch gets a little bit better post than the 5, so should get another setup. Probably another pocket ride. Could be better served with that. And then the 9, BJ Savannah. This horse kind of freaked last time at 15, even though the trip looks good. This horse, whenever they asked, this horse just drew away. I like horses these toll horses are doing very well. Again, draws towards the inside. Probably needs to make an earlier move, but is going to be a price. I'm against some of these others. I don't like the 6. I don't like the 8 coming out of that race. I want the horses out of that Holly's Justice race. So 3, 5, and 9.
Yeah, with the 6 and the 8 too, they also seem entirely one-dimensional, particularly the 8. And being from the second tier and being also a horse that likes to be up towards the front or on the front, not necessarily a good sign. With the 9, though, that's a big step up in class. And from what I recall, that wasn't really the strongest race she was in against.
I just like the wake up. That's what I like. If a horse wakes up like that, wake up, step up, I'm okay with that.
The horse was good last time.
Was that much of a wake up?
I don't mind that horse. I'm not a fan of what the horse's price is going to be, but I think the horse is good enough. It just needs a trip, I think. That's the key for this horse.
I don't know if that's much of a wake up, though. It's a good race off a layoff, but she had 2 decent races before that scratch that really kind of showed that she was leading up towards a race like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's hard to gauge off a layoff.
Mhm.
And that was the horse's best race in a long time. You know, I realize the time is an interesting, dynamic, but I feel like that was a good race from that horse, and I think the horse can step in and win.
I particularly didn't like the price, and this horse will also... The horse could get into the mix based on whether or not AJ Ricochet stays flat. That's really what matters here. Unless she trails track saving. There's a lot of options that the driver has because there's so much track that she could go across. The other horse that I use, though, because I'm also 3 deep with the 3 and the 5, but I also use the 1, Princess Julianne. That race 3 back really stands out to me over the slop. Made a big move towards the front and only lost by 3/4 of a length to Holly's Justice. And then tried to go on the lead last time out. Ended up finishing 3rd. This horse seems a lot better from off the pace, or at the very least, just not on the lead, but stalking from stalking close to the pace. Also draws the rail, and that doesn't really hurt necessarily for the kind of racing style she's been showing. She might be a bit of a decent price too, as we have 1 minute to post for the 8th. Right now it's 7-5, the 2, Ty's Little Dream. Okay, that's a bit of a surprise. 4-1 on Schrader Hanover and Go Get Bruce. And 5-1 on Winsong Lexenbacher. Winsong Lekeabnav. That sounds like this horse sounds straight out of the KGB. Kyle, what'd you do, Kyle? That for Kyle Burton, ladies and gentlemen, whose initials are.
Was Kyle on the program? See.
No, but his initials are KGB. The G stands for Gornoff. See what Rod goes for the cliche 90s epithet. You call people gay, and it's funny. Everyone laughs. Oh, honestly, it's a funny word. It sounds funny.
It is funny. It's funny when Rod does it too. Whenever he's actually making the broadcast.
I'm hearing banging right now.
Thanks for coming, Rod.
I'm here.
Why am I hearing banging?
I don't know.
Huh.
Maybe it's your dad.
Upstairs. It's Frank.
No.
No.
All right. So this race is going. Why is that happening? 3-2 on Ty's Little Dream. 4-1 on Schrader Hanover. This field's in motion, approaching the start, off and trotting. Iko's Fifi gapped the gate. Go Get Bruce going towards the top. Victory's Peanut leaves out. Schrader Hanover to the inside, out 2 around that first turn. Go Get Bruce going to take the top from Schrader Hanover, getting away 3rd. Then Victory's Peanut as they move into the backstretch. Ty's Little Dreams back 4th. The High Road in 5th, and Abe Zerl dropping back towards 6th. Winsong Lekeabnav and Iko's Fifi are towards the back of the pack. Winsong Lekeabnav broke around the turn, and Iko's Fifi gapped the gate. 29-4 the opening quarter. Go Get Bruce going on the engine here by a length and 3/4. Schrader Hanover 2nd. Victory's Peanuts stalking 3rd. Ty's Little Dream is back in 4th, and it's the High Road 5th. Completing the pack here, Abe Zerl as they trot towards the stretch. First time, Go Get Bruce leads the way, unchallenged, unpressured, unfazed. Schrader Hanover 2nd, out of 4th now. First over, Ty's Little Dream, the High Road, opting to sit to the inside, now pulling outside. Abe Zerl's 3rd over. Iko's Fifi begins to catch the field, and wide of him around the turn, Winsong Lekeabnav still towards the back. 101-4 the halftime, 32 seconds that second quarter, a breather for Go Get Bruce down the backside. Ty's Little Dream inching closer towards second and approaching the leader to that three-quarter pole, a length within the front. Schrader Hanover locked at the inside. The High Road is second over in fourth with 2.5 lengths to make up. Inside Victory's Peanut, third over is Abe Zerl off three quarters, 131-4 around the final turn. Ty's Little Dream rough gated, three high, the High Road still having to catch Go Get Bruce turning into the lane. It's Go Get Bruce in front for Carroll. In between horses, Ty's Little Dream center of the track. The High Road behind them, Abe Zerl and looking for room. Schrader Hanover, lines coming. Ty's Little Dream battles back, but Go Get Bruce holds on to win it. The High Road towards the center of the track for third, 2:03-1. They're still banging. All right. So 5-2 shot. That leaves Mike alive in this sequence.
Shocking.
Right? $38 ticket's gonna pay $20.
We'll see.
Ooh.
How much was your ticket?
Am I
Nine.
still live?
Mine was $9.
Yeah, donut.
Okay.
Am I still live?
Rod, you're done.
Donut for Rod too. Oh my.
You know, there
Gotta
are
laugh about something tonight in this freaking albatross of a show.
there are times in this life you had so much to laugh at, including my overweight father. There's so much that happens in life, or you're just left speechless. You don't necessarily know there's supposed to be a speech that happens in the first place, and then what you do? Well, in your state of confusion, you get up on your arbitrary soapbox and you give a speech anyway. Why? Because you're Robert De Niro. And that's your role in the movie. Oh my God. But really,
This is absolutely freaking brutal.
I am
I
still.
feel like we need to hit the reset button on this show.
I feel like we need to hit the reset button on life itself, but that's not really much of an option. I learned that from Monty Python because they tried the reset button. They actually didn't, but I feel like this would be a sketch for them. They build this great reset button, and then once they press it, nothing happens. Because you know what? Humanity is inevitably screwed. And that's my new movie coming out this fall. Disney's producing. I got Michael Eisner on deck. I got Josh Gad playing... What's a Josh Gad character? An overweight banana. I
I don't know
got...
who these people are.
I got... maybe if you were a little bit more cultured. Josh Gad on overweight... who else do I... Let's get Selma Hayek. She's gonna play the white love interest just because it's a Disney movie. Actually, no, Disney's been really broadening their horizons. A Hawaiian love interest, but they just did Moana.
Are we talking about any racing at all tonight?
Brazilian love interest. I'm trying to produce a movie here. I'm not sure what your guys' prerogative is.
To produce a show.
This is North American. Ray writes a screenplay update, right?
Yeah, it's not.
I love all of the spin-off versions of this show that we've come up with over the years. North American Furnace Update, North American, whatever other ones I came up with update.
Positive for some people. Furnace update.
That's harsh.
No heat is a big problem. No internet is a bigger problem.
I don't really see much potential for North American Wi-Fi update though. I'm not really sure we need to debut a show like that. Like what do we talk about? Memes?
Why don't we go to break right now and then we can come back?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
But we don't need to go. No, because the news
Or between races.
the news comes at the end of the hour.
Yeah, nobody cares about whatever's going on in Woodbridge. A man was arrested. There was probably a road closed. It'll be all right.
And with that, this will be the last episode of North American Horse Update on SRN1. Luckily, this water bottle didn't break and spill all over the outlet that's underneath this desk. Because I outletted my frustrations on my ceiling. I'm sorry, ceiling. However, if it was a glass ceiling, I would not be sorry that I broke it. But, I mean, looking at how the show is running at the moment, there's no glass ceiling being broken. I'm sorry, ceiling. I didn't mean to hurt you. 10 minutes to the 9th at London. 7-5 here on Dex the Land. 7-2 on Big Diva, that's just too much. That's too much money being bet on her. You got to stop that, guys. Gotta stop it. She's not worth it. And 9-2 on April Bandit, which seems a little high.
We're gonna need some time to go through this stuff in the second hour.
Is the rest of this hour gonna be you convincing me to go to break?
No, we need to go to break.
No one ever has to go to break. The break happens to you. I'm Ray Cotolo, and this is North American Shrink Update. Now it all goes back to your childhood.
No, it doesn't. It goes back 51 minutes.
That's to the start of his root canal.
Well, for dentist? Who's the dentist?
Yeah.
Look, I gave you a little bit more credit as a doctor, Mike. I didn't think you'd amount to that, but that I figure that's a doctor joke because like everyone laughs at. Why do we laugh at the dentists? They do a perfectly fine job. Why do we?
Because you can't open your mouth and laugh at the same time, Ray. Like whenever they're working on you.
Wait, why not?
You just can't.
But is my dentist doing something illegal then?
That's possible.
Oh.
They're out there.
Oh.
Always hurts.
Ooh.
I love how Ray is trying to stretch this segment out as far as he can to somehow get to the news.
I don't understand why we don't go to break. That way, when we come back, we go right into the next race at London.
I can't believe I've been violated by a mouth doctor.
Wow.
I got that's some stuff to talk about on North American Shrink Update. So you see, it all goes back to your childhood, right? I'm not talking like you grew up in a poor area, because sometimes you call it the hood and you were a child then, so it's your childhood. No, because that would mean there's an adulthood, but that could work that way too. But you see, Freud teaches us, look, it's 52. We go till 55, and then it's break time. So you see, string theory, right? So I think it's like calisthenics, kinesics. What's the art of making shapes with string? You know what I'm talking about? Like those string games? How you can make an Eiffel Tower with strings? You don't know what I'm talking about? I learned this at summer camp, and I forget how to do it.
That's probably where you were violated.
Yeah. It wasn't the dentist, it was the counselor.
Ooh. You went to the Shrink Update. Here you go.
It all goes back to your childhood, right?
Yeah. Just so you know, Sugar Doyle's spot play is race 10, number 8, Future King. He says he's very sharp right now, sneaking this one into top the high 5.
We appreciate Sugar and his addition to the show. He cares about racing, unlike some other people.
If I didn't care about racing, why would this show exist?
It's just a medium for you to bring about other sort of things.
Because clearly racing itself hasn't been doing well for itself lately.
Well, we're trying to change that, Ray.
What do you think I'm here for?
Yeah, if we didn't have Rod, God. Think of what the show was without Rod.
Right? Think about it. We're gonna go to break.
Thank God.
And when we come
will we have video when we return, Rod?
Yeah.
All right.
When we come back, more racing here on North American Horse Update. So, late pick 4 from the Meadowlands, Levy to talk about. We'll be here for more. Stay tuned on SRN1 for the second hour of North American Harness Update.
I wish I was a camera. I wish I was a postcard. I welcome you to my house. You didn't have to go far. A house and a garden. There's plants and trees. Make a closer inspection. If you get down on your knees. Now everybody's coming to my house, and I'm never gonna be alone. And everybody's coming to my house, and I'm never gonna go back home. I'm pointing and describing, and I can be your guide. The skin is just a road map. The view is very nice. Imagine looking at a picture. Imagine driving in a car. Imagine rolling down the window. Imagine opening the door. Everybody's coming to my house. Everybody's coming to my house. I'm never gonna be alone. And I'm never gonna go back home. We're only tourists in this life. Only tourists, but the view is nice. And we're never gonna go back home. No, we're never gonna go back home. All right. We're only tourists in this life. Only tourists, but the view is nice. Now everybody's coming to my house, and I'm never gonna be alone. And everybody's coming to my house, and I'm never gonna go back home. Everybody's coming to my house. Everybody's coming to my house. I'm never gonna be alone, and I'm never gonna go back home.
Philip Hong in Woodbridge. A male is wanted for lewd behavior in Vaughan. Police say a female victim was walking her dog last August, being approached by a man in a car asking for directions. When the victim approached the car, she witnessed him masturbating, according to police. Officers are looking for a black Mazda with partial license plate number BLT6, along with the suspect described as black, between ages 20 and 30. 3 people are arrested following a gun incident in Keswick. Officers were called to an apartment at Allums and Glen Woods on Wednesday afternoon after reports of shots fired. No injuries were reported, and police say this is a domestic incident. 2 males and 1 female were arrested, one on a pre-existing warrant. Former Brampton councillor Frank Andrews has passed away, aged 80. Andrews served on City Council and Regional Council between 1974 and 1985. Originally from England, Andrews was an active volunteer, including his involvement as a soccer coach. Andrews is survived by his wife Joan, 2 children, and 2 stepchildren. Sunny in the forecast, Pearson 8, Newmarket 7. I'll have more on updates on SRN1. For now, I'm Philip Hong.
Thank you, Phil, and welcome back to more of National Treasure.
Lewd behavior.
I'm Nicolas Cage, joined by Mike Pribozie, Rod Allums Jr., and also shout out to Vaughn from PEI who's tuning in. How's it going there, V-Boy? Can I call him V-Boy, or are we not on a nickname basis yet?
Vaughn, you don't know who he is.
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
well, no, because like that's why I asked if we're on like a nickname basis, because I try to be really friendly with people. Not like well, I'm not friendly with people. Come on, I high five, I handshake.
Nicknames in 30 seconds.
What? Have you ever talked to someone? Have you ever watched me talk to someone? I love everybody. What do they have against me?
Just randomly walk up to somebody. Hey, I'm Ray. What's your name? Oh, it's Bill. Oh, okay, Billy.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
B-boy.
Maybe he doesn't want to be called Billy. Maybe he wants to be called Bill or William.
Yeah. Or William.
But
Maybe Billy
G
brings
money,
back
you don't know.
childhood.
yeah, but it's an endearing thing. What did I do? What did I do? I love everybody.
I know what we do.
Why don't they love me?
0 minutes to London. Then we're gonna do what?
And we're gonna roll into the Meadowlands
Okay.
for Saturday.
And then what? The Levies?
Yes, and then I'm going to leave.
Okay. You leaving?
I mean, I could just leave now too.
Okay.
0 minutes till London. I see odds, but I can't read them because my computer's folded.
Who are you trying to get? Favorites to 5. Somehow your horse, the 5, is the favorite at 2-1.
Yep, but I'm not alive.
2.5 and 3.5 to 1. The 7, 17. 6 is 10. 8 is 8.
8 is
I
9.
like 8 at 8 to 1. That's all right.
8 is 9 to 1.
Just clicked up.
5 to 2 favoritism now on the 3. The 1 though still taking way too much money at 3 to 1. Too much.
These horses get bet like this in 3 all the time.
It's too much. I just.
Wait, who's still alive in this pick 4? I'm just curious.
I mean, if you want us to say you, we can.
Alive or not alive? Just alive or dead? It's a yes or no question.
I mean,
alive.
In terms of
Thank
pick
you.
4, yes. In terms of actual life, I'm pretty dead inside right now. 1 minute 30 seconds to post. Soon gonna be 1 minute to post because the progression of time is downwards.
Rod, do we have video yet?
Well, I was recording, but we were 5 minutes off track, and I'm not recording a half-hour long segment of Ray talking about nicknames and such.
It's an endearing thing, though. Like you call your friend Jimmy Johnny Boy, because like you two.
No, you don't.
Why not?
Because you don't.
What do you mean? Who sets these rules?
Like, what if I just decided, like, okay, your name's Ray, and I just call you gay? Like, you know, you didn't want to be.
Well, I mean,
like,
the difference is in the
I don't know
connotation.
if you're gay or not. I just meet you, but your name's Ray. I just decide, okay, gay. I mean,
It's an entirely different thing because of connotation.
no.
Yes.
No, it's not.
There's nothing about Johnny Boy that insinuates homosexuality.
Maybe not to you, but maybe to Johnny Boy. You don't know.
Like, in what situation would that work? Hey, you into Johnny Boys? Like, that's not a euphemism. If anything, it'd be a really strange euphemism.
See, this is half your problem. You think that
9
you're
to
always
5
right.
on Dex the Land.
Oh, now he wants to get the racing.
3 to 1 on Bye Bye Daddy. You want to talk about innuendo? Jeez, 3 to 1 on Bye Bye Daddy. Now 4 to 1.
Yeah, that has to be the winner here after all this mess.
2 to 1 on April Bandit. When you refer to it as a mess, that's just even more of a euphemism. All right, so they're lining up, and Big Diva's going up in price. Like, if this horse wins, I know nothing. Like, in all honesty.
Rod, punch a ticket.
They're lining up for the 9th here from Western Fair. 8 to 5 favoritism now on Dex the Land and April Bandit. Those two facing off 6 others. at the start, off and pacing. Winning Matrimony leaves out, as does April Bandit. Big Diva to the inside, protects position third. Getting away fourth around the turn, decks the land. Wide Winning Matrimony now fourth. Jenny gets away fifth. Sixth, then Ground Shaker in front of Bye Bye Daddy and What a Sassy Girl opening quarter bound. In front here, April Bandit. Second, Big Diva in front of Dex the Land. Third, Winning Matrimony left out to dry. 28-2 that opening quarter. Jenny's fifth around that turn. Ground Shaker sixth. Bye Bye Daddy seventh. Still towards the back. What a Sassy Girl approaching the top of the stretch first time. April Bandit, even money favorite, in control here. Big Diva drafts second. Inside third, Dex the Land locked in a touch. Winning Matrimony left out fourth. In front of Jenny fifth. About 6 lengths off of the lead. Bye Bye Daddy moves wide towards the back around Ground Shaker, and on her back, What a Sassy Girl. 58-1.5, 29-4 that second quarter. Separation here for the favorite. April Bandit down the back stretch leads by 3. Big Diva second. Here comes a rush from Dex the Land out of third. First over up towards second, coming within a length of the lead as they move on to the 3/4 pole. Winning Matrimony is fourth then, 4.5 lengths off the lead. Dex the Land goes right on by April Bandit around that final turn. 3/4, 127-3, 29-2 that third panel. Dex the Land has taken over at the top of the stretch, leads by 2.5, 3 now, and is going away. April Bandit left in her wake second, a long ways back to Big Diva fighting for third, but Dex the Land goes by, slingshots, and scores. April Bandit second in 157-1. That's not a slingshot. That's a boingo. That's a that's the classic boingo toy.
Oh my.
2-1 even money. Whoever was third.
Yeah, why would you need to know that calling the race?
I
think it's on, yeah.
Okay, Mike. Here's the thing. All right, so you see how the colors really blend on the screen.
No, that's a 3.
That's the
Right
3.
there.
That's the 4.
A 4. Wait, here we go.
That's the 8.
That's an 8.
Yeah, you said the 1. The colors blend. I couldn't see the colors.
Well, just so you know, we're going to start the Meadowlands pick 4 for tomorrow night in 45 seconds.
Okay,
Ooh.
so we got
There's plenty of time to talk about shrinkage and stuff like that.
What? What are you guys talking about? 3, 4, 8, 5. As we now adjust position, it's time to go into handicapping mode.
Ooh.
Oh, God. Oh, my lumbar. Whew. I'm way too young. I'm way too young for the lumbar to be set so low. But then again, I'm responsible for how low it's been set. That's very unfortunate, mostly for me. So the Meadowlands pick 4 is a time-honored tradition, mostly because how much longer can I do that routine? I love that routine though, but it's a $50,000.
You typically recycle most of your typical ones. We get a lot of those.
And you see, in the professional world, but you do things repeatedly because most people won't see it more than once. And as I'm talking to you from away at the camera, the late pick 4 at the Meadowlands, $50,000 guaranteed pool, starts with race number 8, as it does each and every single race card. It used to start with race number 7, but then they changed it with the addition of the Survivor bet. But that's history. And why does that matter? So the first leg of this sequence is the 8th. It's an hours of $15,000 race in their last 5 starts. Optional claiming tag. Here's some other conditions that just explain how the horses got the posts they did. 10 horses lining up in this annexed condition race. And I'm going to send it off to you, Rod, to start off because you got guts, gumption, and gumbo. You're single in the 1 entry.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and single the 1 there. or the ones, plural. They do have the 9 and 10 hole, but I think these two horses, between the two of them, they're good enough. More importantly, the 9 Stars in Heaven. He is the inside of the entry there. Vic Kirby jumps on tomorrow night. This horse has been racing in the preferreds and the opens, has beat those horses in the preferreds and opens. Comes off a really good race last time. Last half, I believe, in like 54 flat. So this one is in good form, has been pretty good recently over several starts. And, 5 back does have a winning line there. Although it was off a perfect trip, but this is a drop from where this horse has been. So that's the reason why I like this horse in particular. And then you get the additional horse in the 1A coming off of the qualifier. Has missed about 3 months, but good qualifier. I'm going to give that one a start and just go with Stars in Heaven here.
Mike, you can't do that. You had to go a little bit deeper than just the one entry here. Why?
I agree with Rod that the one is a standout on class, but I think he's hard to trust, especially from the 9 hole. And he was sharper back in early February when he won that race, and then ever since, he's kind of had a few bad races at Dover, albeit in the slop. Last time he was 6 out of 7, was never threatening any of those top horses. Now gets the drop. I don't really like the post. This horse typically needs to get a setup to win, so I'll use defensively. But there's a couple horses on the way up that I like, and that's the 6 Griffin Hanover. This horse, started back numbers of 11-5, raced well to be third, and was 50-1 that night. Then last time drew the 2 hole and flew home 27-3 to win at almost 12-1. The horse is sharp, third back. I think you need to use that one. The 8 Endeavor's dropping out of preferred also. Really had no chance the last few races. This is Pat LaChance. You really never know what you're going to get, but this horse is typically a closer. I think, though, that should be a little bit closer just on the class drops. I'm going to use that one. And then the 9 Durant was claimed for 24 back and has raced well in 25s and 30 optional claimers, which, face great vintage, Lawrencetown Beach. Those are horses that would be very well bet in this race. His speed has the main contender outside of him. I think you need to use that one also. So 1, 6, 8, 9.
I'm only a fan. Actually, I don't like the word fan. I only could see the one entry in terms of class really doing well here, but I don't single. I'm too deep in this race. And of course, the one end of that entry versus the 1A stands out a lot more in class, particularly because the lines on Stars in Heaven show him to have struggled against tougher horses rather than being so over his head that he's actually digressing in form. Degrading in form? It's degrading in form. Digressing is not a word. However, aside from him, I also agree with Durant. This horse has been racing incredibly sharply as he moves up in class to take a $50,000 tag this week. And that race in particular last week, too, really just emphasizes the form this horse is in right now. Being a part of the pace battle against Great Vintage and Lawrencetown Beach to set up fractions like 26 and change, 54 and change, 21 even in a 30,000 optional claimer. This horse definitely fits at this level because this numbers of 15,000 otherwise is filled with a slew of horses moving up from the non-winners of $8,500 level. So this is a much weaker collection of horses than usual for this class, which could end up playing in the favor of Durant, especially because of how sharply he's been racing, and hopefully he's a decent price too in the move up in class. So I'm 1-9 here in that opening leg of the pick four. The second leg is the 9th race. Don't get that confused. I've done it way too many times. It's numbers $3,500 in their last 5 starts. Purse is $6,500. We got 1, 4, 6, 10, 9 horses going postward in this race. And Mike, this was the leg that you felt so strongly about that you went and singled.
Yeah, I'm singling the inside horse. This horse is dropping from numbers of 5,000. I've been racing as high as numbers of 10,000 at Yonkers early February. 2 back, got a rough trip, lost to Beyond the Light and Siskel. Those are better than these horses. And then last time I thought had no chance from where he was in that Artsma race where he just got it out of win, basically parked the entire mile. The trainer's correct. You know, 16%. I feel like with this post in this race where there's a lot of question marks and a lot of horses that are struggling, that he's a very most likely winner. So I'm going to try to single the one here.
The trainer does look correct. As last I checked, Robert Bongiorno does train this horse and not Chef Boyardee. Those are two very different people.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that.
I mean, you said the trainer was correct, so I'm just verifying that you were right in saying that. But Rod, for you also like Majak Kobe Bryant in this race, but you take two others.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Mike on Kobe. But you like that one? That was a good one.
I did like that.
The banging is still happening.
I do.
Too bad you can't get the video to work ever, but you're great on the soundboard.
I like the one, but I just don't trust a horse like that. 2 for $1 billion last year and this year. Just not my type of horse to single. I'm going to throw the 2 on there, Sporty Red Hot. Second start off the layoff. Horse, just went around from the outside last week and just chased him. I thought needed the race and should be much tighter coming into this race tomorrow night. Draws the 2-hole, and Jim Pantaleano drives. Decent price play here if this horse stays close and if he's good enough and tight enough. And then the 5, Mr. Cincy, I'm going to use this horse. Coming down from Woodbine, has been facing cheap horses up there the last couple starts, but prior to that, this horse was racing against upper level condition horses, and the horses this one was in against were much, much better. I mean, you just look velocity driven. This horse only got beat a few lengths to that horse, and he's been racing, kind of toggling back and forth between the preferreds and the upper level conditions. So, there's reason to like this horse. He hasn't been in very good form, but maybe the barn change will help this horse and changing venues as well. So I'm going to throw him on just in case. So 1, 2, 5.
I agree with the 1 and the 5. I used 2 of those horses. And if you come on down to Dale's Used Cars, I don't know why it chose Dale's Used Cars voice. It was mostly because I had incoming gas, outcoming gas. 1 and 5 are horses I use. The other 2 horses I throw on are the 4 Stratocaster, purely on past form. This horse has raced very well at this level in the past at the Meadowlands, and has some okay starts over a half mile. He races much better on the bigger track, as his efforts last year showed. Drops down from hours of 5,000 to hours of 3,500, and should take back to the track as he did last year, and probably at a decent price off those lines. I also throw on the 6 What a Horse, shipping in from Freehold, stretching those old legs. This 12-year-old gelding has some decent miles over at Freehold against similar competition. He's usually involved in the races, going wide, going first over, getting into the mix somehow to hit the board or cash a check, and that's a good sign, especially moving to the bigger track, to show that this horse might have a bit of initiative when only going 2 turns instead of 4. So I'm 1, 4, 5, 6 in the second leg of this pick 4. The third leg is race number 10. Again, don't get those numbers mixed up. I've done it way too many times. Numbers of 8,500 in their last 5 starts. $12,000 purse. There's 8 horses lining up. And starting off with you, Rod, you're the deepest of all of us. Why 5? What do you need 5 horses for?
Because I think 5 horses can win the race.
Oh, okay.
I'll start with the 3. Rather Swell. Vic Kirby jumps on in this race tomorrow night. Andy chose a different horse, that being Andy Miller. Horse is not much of a winner the last couple of years, but horse has talent. Has been pretty good lately, and faces a similar bunch again. And I think maybe Vic Kirby could wake this thing up. He did win on this horse 5 starts back at Dover, so he knows the horse at least, and I think this one's a pretty good price play. The 4, Mr. Truth, I'm going to throw this one on. Usually leaves and looks to get a 2-hole trip. Hasn't been getting there recently, but I do think this horse, in a similar bunch, doesn't really get beat by anybody that is in this race. So I'm going to go ahead and use. Why am I echoing?
You're good.
The 5, Maroma Beach. I'm throwing that one on. Second time Lasix. Good qualifier, and that was off 3 months. This horse, if ready, and Burke usually sends him out ready, should be right there at the wire. Pat LaChance is driving, but, I'm not going to let that deter me. The 7, Southern Pursuit. I use this one, even though at the outside, just because Andy's driving this horse. This is the one he picked. Last time was trying to 2-move and got used pretty hard making the lead, and then, only got beat a couple lengths there. So that was a good race on the jumping class. This horse should be leaving once again and could make the lead here. Hopefully get some soft fractions. And if on the front end, this horse will be dangerous. And then I'll throw the 8 on there as well, Siskel. Comes off a really good race last time. Brett Miller jumps on. He drove this horse 2 back, finished second. So this one, you're probably not going to get much of a price on him, but I think needs to be used. So 3, 4, 5, 7, 8.
Now, Mike, do you agree with any of what Rod just said?
I like some of the ones he says. I'm 4 deep. I like the outside 2 horses best. Siskel was very good off the layoff. Those races on the 24th and the 3rd of March were decent. Had a win and then lost to Beyond the Lights. Last time really wasn't in the right spot, and all week was sitting on a win. I'll just throw that race out. So I think that horse is a likely winner. The 7, Southern Pursuit, had the 9-hole last time, was parked early, really couldn't win from that spot. Should be up close again. I would think probably in the pocket behind the 6. I think a better trip could equal a better finish. The 5, Maroma Beach, that's Burke. Second Lasix, off a cue, has a little bit of back class to him. I like the horse, the fact that the horse is 10 times out of 17 in the money. So that horse doesn't spend too much time, not racing well. So I'll use that one. And then the 2, Durrell, 3rd start back, comes in from Yonkers, had bad post. It's Ryder, McCarthy, probably going to close. Needs a little bit of a setup, but I'll try that one also. 2, 5, 7, 8.
As for me, this is the 3rd leg. I'm 3 deep, starting with the 1 who in the 3rd leg, I remember his name, Jeremy's General. That's right. Thank you, memory. Whew, I knew it could serve me well. What's really strange about this race is most of these horses are coming out of the all-week race. And the thing with that race, for lack of a better term, is that there were 7 horses finishing right behind him, and a lot of these horses have lines that look decent as a result. Like for instance, the 3 Rather Swell seems like he has a decent line, but he had nothing in that race, so for me, he's a toss. And the same for some other horses like Southern Pursuit, who totally chased in that race. I'm not a big fan of. However, Jeremy's General off the rail was towards the center of the track, flying late under very little encouragement to gain 5 lengths in the course of the stretch, coming 27 flat. He was the most impressive finisher of the bunch in that race, and for me, that's good enough reason to throw on, just because it's such a hard race to look at. I'm a big fan of I keep saying big fan. I'm not a big fan. However, I do like the 2 Durrell, especially looking 3 starts back to that qualifier against Dr. J. Hanover. It's always interesting to see horses gain ground when they're in qualifiers against actual stakes type horses. That's a really good sign to look for. And this horse has been racing primarily on the half mile, now moves to the bigger track, probably will take to the bigger track much more, and has also been racing against maybe a bit tougher, admittedly, numbers of 6 parimutuel, and also just hasn't had the right circumstances to put his best foot forward, whichever foot that might be. It could be the front hind or the left hoof. Who knows? But then the other horse I throw on is the 8 Siskel. He was the second most impressive closer out of that all-week race, coming towards the center of the track to finish 5th, coming 27-2. He draws outside again. He's got some decent lines. He's been in against tough horses, most notably Beyond Delight 2 starts back when he was second against this company. He's the more obvious horse in this race. But all that said, I'm 1-2-8 in the third leg of this sequence. Final leg.
You got about 1 minute to London. I'm just letting you know.
Okay, so we're not going to get to the final leg just yet. We are going to get to this last leg at London. And this last leg with 55 with seconds to post features 2-1 favorite, the 5 Holly's Justice. Who won the last race? Oh, the 3. So Mike is alive to the 3, 5, and 9. 3's currently 6-1. The 5's currently 2-1. The 9 currently 8-1. Take a look at these will pays for this ticket, and
They're just okay.
yeah, you make some money back.
Yeah,
with
It's
20
chalked out a little there.
seconds to go.
That's all right. Win's a win if you can get it. The 3 should not be 5-1 here. That's a little high, I think.
I can't really say I like much on this betting board. I can say that, well, I can say a lot of things, but Future King to me seems like a massive underlay at 5-1.
Yeah, I mean, I know Sugar likes that horse. I want nothing to do with that horse, especially in the second tier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's rough gated to begin with.
I'm kind of interested in the 1 at 8-1. That's a decent price. Okay.
I like the 1.
It's tea time.
I like the 1 at a decent price.
8-1 on Princess Juliana. That's the only the sentences are happening currently.
Was that you, like, in the middle of a stroke? You're like,
No, it was my insecurities manifesting themselves. 9-horse field coming up. 7 in line, 2 in behind. 6-5 action on the 5 Holly's Justice, floating up to 9-5 now in the final clicks. Second choice at 4-1, the 8 Future King. Third choice at 5-1, the 3 Tax Savings. This is the final from London. It's in motion, approaching the start, and it's off and trotting. Tax Savings leaves out, as does Northern Oath, as does Lucrative Sun. Those 3 spread across the track. Princess Julianne trots into 4th around that turn. Future King 5th. Backing towards 6th, AJ Ricochet off stride. Going to the opening quarter went Northern Oath, so that leaves Lucrative Sun in control here by 2.5. Tax Savings chases 2nd. Princess Julianne 3rd. Future King is 4th. Gap then of 4.5 to AJ Ricochet 5th. Holly's Justice back 6th, followed by BJ Savannah towards the rear with Talbot Creek Susie. And then the early breaker, Northern Oath, is in the back of the field as they trot around that first turn and move on to the top of the stretch for the first time. 17-1 shot here dictating the terms. It's Lucrative Sun, but out of 5th, AJ Ricochet pulls, forcing the hand of Princess Julianne, flushed out from 3rd into the stretch first time. Boxed in, Future King trots 4th. Behind them, Holly's Justice 6th as Princess Julianne inches towards Lucrative Sun to challenge past the halfway point. And approaching the clubhouse turn for the second time. Tax Savings, meanwhile, occupies the pocket, a length and 3/4 off the lead second, looking for room to tip out. Future King locked in by AJ Ricochet, stalled to the outside. Behind that, Holly's Justice, the favorite, with about 5 lengths to make up as they move down the backstretch. Princess Julianne advancing towards a narrow lead over Lucrative Sun, battling back to the inside. But off the rail, here comes Future King now, looming closer and looming large for Shepherd. Future King, 3 wide around that final turn, overtakes Lucrative Sun and Princess Julianne from in between, shooting up the inside. Holly's Justice looking for room, 2 lengths away, and then behind the wall, Tax Savings turning for home. Future King, a narrow lead towards the center, but Princess Julianne fights onto her inside. Holly's Justice nowhere to go to the inside of Lucrative Sun. Then it's Tax Savings, but it's Princess Julianne coming back to fend off Future King. Looked like Tax Savings might have held on there for 3rd.
What was that drive on the 5 there exactly? Did he think that they were going to fall down in front of him and he was going to jump over him?
If anything, he was the one that was going to fall down over them at the top of that stretch.
Oof.
I mean, they were falling down. The pace was
He
collapsing.
was trying to jump him.
He just didn't get the right room at the right time. And that Princess Julian 8-1 down to 4-1. 1-8-3-9, and then completing that high five. Is that the 4? No, that can't be the 4. The 4 is back there.
2.
That was the 2. Okay. 1-8-3-9-2. In that high five, and in the last from London, Rod and I touting Princess Julianne is the only horse of much value. Future King raced way better than expecting, though. Made a big move. Just if there was 1/16 of a mile less.
Let's go back to the Meadowlands.
Last leg.
Okay, so let's try and pep up Mike's spirits a bit with the $7,500 claimer. $5,500 purse. Race 11 from the Meadowlands. It's the final leg of the late pick 4. 9 horses going postward in this race. Rod, starting with you, 4 deep.
No, I'm 5 deep.
5 deep.
Start with the 1, Fox Valley Cadet. Got a nice trip last time. Did get parked past the quarter in that last race from the outside. Draws the rail. In this race, probably going to be the favorite here, if not second favorite. I think you have to use, especially from the rail after a couple of bad posts 2 times in a row. The 3, Charmborough Curiosity, raced first over last week. Got a little bit tired on the end, but raced really well. Only got beat a length. The horse on the front end was tiring. Everybody was kind of faltering there the last 16th of a mile, and this one just kept digging and digging. I thought it was a really good race. So I'm going to throw that one on as well. The 4, Flying with Royalty, I'm going to use. This one likes to leave. Draws pretty well here. It's Mitch Cushing. Just got beat last time on the lead. Went a little bit too fast, but I'm going to keep using this horse. You're getting decent prices on this horse week in and week out now. So, no reason not to throw him on, especially the way that they're not really playing him. The 5, Danish Du Jour, come from way back last week. I thought raced really well, had no prayer, and was just flying on the end of it. This horse is a must-use for me. One of my top plays of the night, actually. And then the 7, Outcry. I'm throwing this one on. Should see kind of a similar race as you saw last week from this one. Coming from the back, should be following some live cover. And if this horse is drug up close enough, I think could win, but is going to have to be drug up into a decent pace there toward the end. So 1, 3, 4, 5, 7 finish mine.
Now, Mike, those sounds very similar to your numbers.
Very similar indeed. The only one I don't use is the 4 because of Cushing. I really have no interest in him. Agree with Rod. The 1 should be favored. Beat these horses last time. Draws the rail this time. The 3, Charmborough Curiosity, closed last time. Into the race, was outside a long ways. Had 3 tough trips in a row. He needs to get a break. But the problem is he's 0 for 7 on the year. The 5, I agree with very much. This horse was good in January, and then kind of has been off form. Woke up a little last time. Flew home 27-1. I like that. I like the wake up. And the problem is you're not going to get 20-1 again. I think he'll probably be closer to 5 or 6. And then Outcry, the 7. Another closer, just got beat an inch last time to the 1. Should be right there again. I think those are the only 4 that can win. 1, 3, 5, 7.
I'm too deep in the last. I mean, I was back and forth on whether or not to use Fox Valley Cadet, just because that last race in particular, even though he gets post relief, it doesn't stand out. He only won by a nose.
With 7,500 claiming.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So if this horse is going to take a lot of play, especially off the post relief, it almost seems like it should be to my interest to go against him, seeing that I don't really think he's that strong of a favorite.
Okay.
And I take 2 horses. We all agree on Danish Du Jour. That last race it really stands out, coming in 27 and change to finish 4th by only half a length. And in all honesty, if this horse is any closer to the pace, he could only perform better, especially considering that was his first race where he didn't really have much of an excuse off the claim back on February 2nd, went over to Freehold, tossed that race. Next race from the 9-hole in the slop, went to the lead but didn't do much else. You can toss that race in the slop. And so he puts in an actual genuine performance, and we can only expect him to put in a similar one, or at least an improvement of that, given he gets the track conditions that he preferred last time out this week around. And the 6, Mr. 6 is the other one I use. His last race here at the Meadowlands, he double parked for most of the race and was totally out of it, finishing 10th by 15 lengths. Went back to Freehold, where he parked again, parked some more. This horse has gotten the worst trip, so comes back to the $7,500 claiming level. And to me, it seems like he hasn't really had much of a chance to show his form. And if anything, from being consistently parked in his last few races, I can assume that this horse has something to offer, especially on the bigger track. So I'm going to take a bit of a shot there in that last leg, going 5 and 6, which makes my ticket for 50 cents go as follows. I'm 1-9 with 1-4-5-6 with 1-2-8. With 5-6. That's $24 for 50 cents. Mike, your ticket.
1-6-8-9 with 1 with 2-5-7-8 with 1-3-5-7. It's 32 for 50 cents.
And Rod.
1 with 1-2-5 with 3-4-5-7-8 with 1-3-4-5-7. It's $37.50 for 50 cents.
That is correct. Now there's one last piece of agenda on this itinerary, and that is the George Morton Levy series. Now, the matchmaker, which has been going on over the course of this show, has been mostly chalky from the looks of it and from the sound of it too, except this last leg where Ross Krogan's horse Twinkle won, paid $8.10. You can call that much of a price. But otherwise, Lady Shadow, $290, Celibate, $290, Sharton, $250. And
how did he let that name go? Come on.
It's a New Zealand horse. It's a different thing in their dialect. Also, interesting correlation here. I mean, it's just year in, year out with the Levy and the Matchmaker series. These New Zealand shippers, they really like this. But then again, that's also Tritton and Krogan, who both usually perform very well in this series. That said, the first division of the Levy series, which, of course, this is the first stakes event on the racing calendar, is race number 4 tomorrow evening at Yonkers Raceway, and there's 7 horses lining up. And we also noticed, at least from this card of the matchmaker, that the inside has had a big advantage. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, that's going to consist. It's going to consist? It's going to persist through tomorrow's program. So this opening leg features Mocket So debuting off of 3 qualifiers, 3 decent qualifiers, but it's interesting that he needed to qualify 3 times. He's the morning line favorite. Second choice here, Blood Brother, moving up from the hours of $20,000 level for Rich Bonka. And Mike, starting with you, I know you weren't necessarily too thrilled with these races, but is there much value that you're seeing outside of the 2 favorites?
I think there's value in this first leg, especially because these outside 2 horses in this short field have a little more recency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 5-week series, so a lot of these horses aren't going to be cranked up necessarily right away. I'm interested in the 6 Chumlee, who had been racing well at the upper condition levels, won 4 out of 5 there and was beaten in those in the other one. And then, the last 2 times had the 7-hole and the 8-hole. The horse was outside both times the whole way. Is not getting a lot of respect in those races, but is racing very well. Has made almost $60,000 already this year. This horse needs to get away from the gate and maybe beat some of these horses out that, are off qualifiers that really haven't raced in these faster races. And then I think he has a chance just because of his recency edge. So I would be interested in him depending on the price. And I think he's going to be ignored because when you see Market So, coming back, this horse won the TVG Open last year at less than 2-1. I personally think that he's more of a bigger track horse anyway, but he's done well in these races. I'm going to give that one a week. And then, the 7 Western Fame, who is definitely excels on the half, raced decently in the preferred at the Meadowlands last time against Better's Edge, who was sitting on a win, and Awesomeness had won 2 in a row. This horse is 15-1 morning line, which is an absolute joke. There's no way that this horse is going to be anywhere close to that. Just needs to get up early and, be in the mix, I think, with the 6 and the 7. If they can blast off the gate and get early spots, I think they have a huge advantage. I would be 6 and 7 in this first one.
Rod, how about for you?
I'm actually in a similar boat as Mike, but one that I don't mind using, even though this horse has been laid up, is the 1. Decent qualifier. I think Nifty's going to have this thing ready, especially from the rail. This horse likes to win. Made a decent amount of money last year, really kind of turned the corner. And this kind of looks like a typical Better's Delight type that ages well. A lot of his horses, they'll be average when they're 2 and 3, and then they turn 4 and 5, and they really turn a corner and show some more ability that they didn't really show before. And this one, I think, is good enough if he's ready. Does draw the rail, so she'll get away pretty close. Has raced at Yonkers and actually won his last start first over in the 4-year-old Open. So there's reasons to like this horse. The only thing is the layoff. But again, this leg, I think, is pretty wide open because I think the 2 best horses in here have been laid up. So, tough to gauge it. But like I said, I do agree. The 7, the 15-1 morning line, you're not getting that price. I can promise you that. And it's second start off a pretty lengthy layoff. So this is a half-mile horse, and he should be good in there as well. I'm going to guess you're probably going to get like 5, maybe 6-1 on this horse. Don't you think?
Depending on what they do with the 2.
Yeah, they're going to bet the 2, but I don't think they're going to hammer him just because of the layoff.
Better memories. Those 4-year-old opens are they aren't really as great as they could be. I mean, the only notable thing is that the one he was 5th in back on December 2nd, the one name that stands out is Missile J, and Missile J was phenomenal in this series last year. And then he also was 3rd to Christian Me over at Dover, but he also got dragged in a fast fraction. From Better Memories to me seems like he could do very well just because of his post. And if he's the right price, then so be it. You can go for that. What's interesting is none of you talked, and this is probably just because of the layoff, never mentioned Caviar Luca, who also has raced really well in this series in the past and isn't coming in off of terrible qualifiers. Went a decent one first back, and then last out went on the lead and just did what he had to do to get the time in. And this is also just his playing ground, his playground too, because almost every week in the series last year, he would go towards the lead, and he would just either hold on because that's how the track played, or he would be up close. And to me, it seems like he might be a decent price coming back, considering too that there is a lot of speed in this race, and he could potentially end up being in that stalking spot depending on how hard Brennan wants to send him. And that's also kind of why I mentioned the 1 possibly doing well just off of circumstance, because if this race does set up to have a lot of pace, just by virtue of having the rail, the 1's going to be in a really good spot.
We done with that? Moving on then?
I guess if you guys have nothing else to add to that or extrapolate.
Got nothing else.
Okay.
I don't personally like the 1 much, but that's, obviously I don't feel like he can get the setup with the outside going. The way I see the race, I don't see him being in one of those top early spots if the outside goes. Well, so the way I view the race is obviously different than.
And for me too, I don't really think Western Fame is going to launch from the outside, which he would have to, based on how he usually performs. The second division is the 5th race, and here we see the name that I mentioned from the previous one, Christian Me. This horse is 2-1 on the morning line. Yeah, Christian Me. That's what I said.
Not Christian. Christian's in the other room.
There are many more Christians than him. I think there are a couple billion last I checked.
Not my
but you're such a good dad.
Use this piece right here.
Whatever you said, Rod. But Mike, for this race, Kristen Me comes in off of 2 races that make him seem somewhat vulnerable. So would you be looking to go against him here?
Well, the problem is 1-5 in here.
Okay.
If you look at this race, no one else is going to take money except maybe the 2. And that horse is laid up. I guess Keystone Velocity could, but he's a bit of a slow starter. I mean, it's a hard. I think you'll know by the board whether this horse is good or not. He excels at this place, but he needs a setup. And, likely he's going to have to pass them all. I don't like those, this horse looked unbeatable in December at the Meadowlands and then came back here. He's drawn bad posts, but, the races just don't scream monster to me. And now, you're getting into this series, going to be a short price against horses that are coming back that have class. I would be disinterested in the 3. I'd be more interested in a horse like the 2, always at my place, coming back for Burke, who has 37 lifetime wins, has a couple qualifiers that are solid, was racing in December at that top level at the Meadowlands and racing consistently. He would be the one I would try to upset with, knowing that the 3 could certainly win, but the price just is a complete turnoff.
The other thing of note too, and I don't know if actually no, Rod. What about for you?
I kind of agree with Mike here. Again, the 3's going to be too short of a price for me, for his style anyway. He's kind of an off the pace horse, and this is a spot he's probably going to end up first over in, which I really don't like. The horse is kind of interesting. I don't think is going to take a ton of play here. Is the 5 Waikiki Beach? This horse, I watched both of those races down at Pompano. This horse was really good in both of those starts, and I really didn't think the first start. Scott Zero went down there to drive this horse. I didn't think this horse was going to be great in that first start. I thought he could probably win that race, but he made a big move the last 16th to win that race, and it didn't look like he was even – it looked pretty effortless. And then the second start was another big mile coming from off the pace, and it's tough to come from off the pace at Pompano with that short stretch there.
But what I want to bring up to you, and the fraction's kind of set for that race too. Are you concerned at all with the Ship North?
No, not at all.
How come?
It's a much longer ship from New Zealand to Pompano on an airplane.
But I'm saying more in particularly of climate.
No, that usually doesn't affect him too much.
Okay.
And Krogan wouldn't have entered him this week if that would have been an issue. I think he would have just waited till next week because this is the type of horse he brought this horse for this series.
Well, and for more.
I think the horse is ready. I think he's good enough. And if the trip works out where they go a little bit up front, he's going to be closing and a decent price.
You see, I feel like he's kind of the buzz horse, though, and that's going to make him the second choice, if not the third choice with the 2 in this race, just because of how much press has been around Waikiki Beach leading up to even...
What kind of money does the 7 take in the race?
I think he's probably going to be right around the same price as the 5.
The 7...
Maybe 5-1.
I mean, well, here's the thing. From a handicapping standpoint, I know this horse is mostly better from an inside post. However, I'm not sure if that's how the betting is going to be reflected based on that kind of assertion because it's a lard. And so I'm not really I feel like that's a bit more semantical than I really can control. However, I guess for outside contenders, I feel like these Pompano horses usually need a start shipping up just from what I've seen in the past. And if just judging by Kristen Me, either Kristen Me wins this race or it's bombs away. That's the first thing. And if it's bombs away, potentially that could end up being Bakersfield. Because if anything, Garcia Herrera has shown us in the series in the past is that he can train an upsetter when need be. And this horse is coming off a decent mile over a good track on March 3rd against the near top level horses, finishing only second by a head. And then prior to that was just a little too far out of the mix from post 7, and the start before that over a sloppy track locked at the rail. So to me, it seems like this horse could end up going off a much better price than the morning line shows. And not only that, has at least has starts under his belt, is coming into the race familiar with the track. There's less variables involved. And again, like Keystone Velocity in this race, I would not want him first time out, even if he was the favorite, which I doubt he would be.
Okay, 10 minutes left, 2 races to go.
The third division, there's 3 races to go. The third division is race number 6.
We got 3 to go?
There's 5 oh, you're right. I thought there was 5. There's 4.
Trying to correct me.
Hey.
Junk.
Hey.
Junk.
Dr. J. Hanover somewhere in L.A.
Well, we need to get me like a junk on the soundboard. Just for...
Well, what we need from you is what you see in this race.
What do I like in the 6th?
That's what I'm asking.
I love a horse in here. I feel like this is Dr. J. Hanover for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gets the rail. I like that race against Awesomeness on the 3rd of March. I like the qualifiers. I like how fast he is. I like the rail.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only horse that he really has to contend with early is the 3 someone in LA who raced very well here last year in this series, and his speed always makes him dangerous. He's 3rd back. I feel like these two, who's going to be in front of each other early? I'm not sure, but they're going to give the other one the trip. And, I feel like they have a giant advantage. Awesomeness has been good, but I don't necessarily trust him on the half. I think he's very much more of a big track horse and has excelled in the past at Mohawk, Woodbine, Meadowlands. He's going to be overbet. A horse that could be interesting maybe is the 6 Hug the Wind, who had been racing at the top level at the Meadowlands and getting closers trips, kind of picking up checks. I'm curious to see him on the half and how he is. So I would be the 1 and then a little bit of 3-6 underneath.
Well, here's what I have to say is that Dr. J. Hanover is not going to go to the lead, and that's for his best interest. If this horse gets a pocket trip, then he probably does win the race. And I'm
1 too. I can tell you that.
I'm in agreement with you there. And Rod, I'm not sure if you see anything similar.
Yeah, I love Dr. J. Hanover from the rail 2nd start back. Typically horses coming into this race as 5-year-olds are going to be much better than they would have been the year prior, because it's that transition. I've talked about that before. The transition from a 3-year-old to 4-year-old year can be
the entire sport has talked about that.
And this horse didn't really step his game up last year until late summer, and then he kind of turned the corner and went that 46 and 4 mile out of nowhere.
Perfect trip.
And he was good every start after that, basically. But yeah, I agree. Dr. J. Hanover is going to be tough in here, and should get a trip either on the front or the 2-hole.
This horse should not be on the front, and I don't think he will be on the front. At least, if in any conceivable universe of handicapping, Dr. J. Hanover's not an on the front horse. He's not. He races.
Well, look back October 28th. What do you do that night?
He was in against open horses. He came in 28-1. My point is that that's not where his best race lies. His best race always comes from chasing horses. He's lazy on the front, and that would be against his best interest because there are horses that will be sitting behind him, like All Bets Off, like Awesomeness, that would go right on by if he led the race.
Well, it is on a half. 28-1 last quarter on the half is pretty stout on the front.
These horses will be going 27 and change, though, in the Levy.
They won't.
They do. They do.
We'll see.
Dr. J. Hanover, though, he's a pretty obvious one. In terms of outsiders, Mike definitely did hit on a really interesting one with Hug the Wind. The one thing, too, that will probably help make him a good price is the fact that his last two races, they seem to it looks like he's turning a corner, but at the same time, this horse has usually excelled much more on the half. At least it's been a long time since he raced in this series, actually. But still, he's a bit of a price. This race is pretty chalk centric, though. I just know, for me, somewhere in LA is going to be over bet. That leaves one more division. And that's the 4th division, featuring Western Dynasty from the inside, another Richard Bonka horse. He was the leading trainer here last year. Rockin' Ron, who romped out of nowhere towards the end of the season last year after finally figuring out how to wire a field. And that's it. So Rockin' Ron, 3rd start off the layoff. Yay or nay, boys?
Nay for sure. I don't like that last race, especially a 3-5 dropping anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Not my type at all. Even though those are nice horses in there. I always felt again like this horse was much better on the bigger track. And if you look back last year when he got back to the bigger track, that's whenever he excelled. 8 wins last year, but most of them were on the bigger tracks. I don't want him. The problem is the race is not really filled with a lot of class horses. I'm curious that Evening of Pleasure is in the race, being 8 years old. This horse has wicked speed and does very well on half-mile tracks. I believe this horse won the big race at London a couple years ago.
Won
at
it
a
twice.
Price.
Won it twice.
2 decent qualifiers. This horse is getting a different trainer. I feel like if he can be close to the front and get the jump on some of these, that he has a massive chance to win, and he'll be completely ignored on the board. I don't see this horse
really
anywhere less than 15-1.
Even with the barn change to Jen Bongiorno?
Yeah, just because some of the other, Rockin' Ron will take his money. I think the one will take some money. He could get ignored. I could be wrong about the price, but I don't think I'm wrong that he has a chance.
No, I definitely agree with that. And, Rod, I feel like you kind of would go somewhere similar.
This is one of the races of the night that I think anybody can win because there's so many different variables in this race. Other than maybe the 3, I don't think that horse can win. He lost to non-winners of 10,000 last time. But you can make a case for the 1, the 2, the 4, the 5, the 6. Lots of different scenarios here.
Not the 7.
7's okay. The post concerns me with the 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the 1 either, but that's another story.
Yeah.
He's had the inside, draws the outside in this race. It's going to be a tough task for him. But the one that's kind of interesting to me is the 2, Simply Sensational, just because this horse drew outside last time, broke off the gate, trying to leave the start prior to that, and got beat in nose to start prior, getting a 2-hole trip. This one, with the inside, I think is going to get away close. The 1 should be pressing enough that this horse gets a 2 or 3-hole trip. And if that does happen, I think this horse could upset this field. And this horse looks to be improving a little bit in a field that really hasn't shown me much. And Rockin' Ron's going to get over bet like he does all the time. He's a favorite every time he races, basically. just one of those races. I think anything can happen here with horses that just aren't over the top. This is the weakest division of them.
If Evening of Pleasure is 12-1, I could tell you that I would be going to bet that. However, I also don't know what the odds are going to be prior to the race. I can guess, but my guess isn't necessarily going to be correct, especially considering it's Yonkers and the betting there usually is somewhat skewed. The 2 is the other horse that I have marked as well, and basically it's going to come down to whichever one of those is the better price, because there's logic behind both of them potentially performing very well here. But that said, if the 6 is anywhere even over double digits, I would probably be going to bet that, just because those 2 qualifiers are very good, and this horse also does really prefer racing on the half, or has at least raced well on the half in the past. And again, has class on the bigger track, but has performed and thrived on the smaller. That said, this has been another edition of North American Harness Update. I've been Ray Cotolo, there Mike Pribozie, and Rod Allums Jr. Next week, they're on their own. I'll be gone.
Me and Rod next week.
I will
We need to get a guest, Rod.
I will be out of
That guy.
I will be out of town. If you get the Aflac Duck, that's fine. It's out of my control. I hear Gilbert's available amid all of his other gigs, if you can find him in his apartment, because he's got a lot of knickknacks hanging around. That said, this has been another edition of the show. I will be out of town. Go to NahooPicks.com to find racing analysis every race day from the Meadowlands, Woodbine, and Western Fair. In the meantime, everybody's coming to my house. Everybody's coming to my house, and I'll never feel alone, and I'll never want to go back home.